Welcome back, everyone. Well, last week I'm sitting there going through the calendar of events and looking at different projects and things that are going on in our region, and I came across this word charrette. Now, we're going to explain this in a lot of detail, but you don't see that word pop up very often. And roughly interpreted, it means an organizational grouping together of ideas from all different constituents to come together to form a plan. And joining me today is Paul Cummings, who's with the Chazen Groups, plural, right? Got it. Okay. I knew I was going to mess that up. But the Chazen Groups. And we're going to tell you what they're involved with, but one of the major consultants involved with this project. And Dave Redpath, who's the chairman of the Citizens Advisory Group for this project. This project, by the way, is a big one. It's the future of the town of Lake George. What is going to happen over the next 10 years in all aspects, in terms of zoning, in terms of growth, in terms of you name it, right?
Correct.
Okay, so David, let's start with you.
Sure.
As chairman of the Citizens Advisory Group, what are you responsible for?
Well, we're gathering together a group of 10 committee members, and we are looking to steer, if you will, the project which is going to result in the next comprehensive plan for the town of Lake George,
right,
with the help of the folks from the Chazen companies.
Gotcha. Now, Paul, your involvement.
I'm a project manager for this project, and I'm working closely with the committee, who is really in charge of the overall planning process. We help them with that process, along with Keith Oborn. He's the town planner, and we're all under the direction of the town board, or appointed and selected by the board. So I'm the consultant that's helping with the planning process. Gotcha.
Now, prior to going on air, I reviewed the program with them. There's some very interesting elements. We're going to kind of go from the top. There's an opening session. And Dave, why don't you just tell our viewers what's the opening session? What's the objective on that?
The opening session is to bring together as many people as we can into a meeting, which will be held up at the Fort William Henry Hotel Conference Center, and to give an overall roadmap, if you will, as to what we expect to accomplish during this 4-day charrette.
Right. Now, before we went on air, it's important to note that when I asked this question to both these guys, they said it's not about the public hearing what we have to say, but it's really to invite the public, all aspects, business owners, people that live there full-time, people that live there part-time, to come in, get their voices heard so that you can help build the structure for this charrette, this planning session that you want to be able to get the information for to put together this comprehensive plan. Correct?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
We want to give everybody a chance to give us their input over these 4 days. There is no preordained end product that's here at this point.
Yeah, sure.
It's an intensive information gathering session.
Now, your experience in this, Paul, leads that you'll get the information from the opening session. Everybody comes in, be careful what you wish for, because, you know, I can tell you, people like to get their voices heard. And nothing could be more important than the 10-year comprehensive plan for the town of Lake George. Now, this is followed up with some focus groups, right?
That's correct. In addition to the opening session, which is Wednesday night, the 17th, the following day, on a Thursday, we'll have a series of focus group meetings. They've been broken down and organized based on themes that have been identified by the committee from their planning efforts thus far. And we've or the committee, I should say, has identified, I think it's upwards of 70 individuals that can be broken up, whether it be natural resources, recreation, infrastructure, et cetera. And we're going to meet with those individuals firsthand to get direct feedback from them with respect to their area of interest or expertise. And that's going to help inform us with respect to the information we're also receiving at the public during the opening session that Wednesday night, and open houses that will be happening the next few days as well.
Wow. And now remember, this is a confined period of time. There's a series of objectives that need to be met to be able to then put together the drafts for this comprehensive plan. Right. You know, one thing that we're all a little subject to is that, okay, you collect a lot of information, the voices get heard, and it goes nowhere. This is not the case when you do something like this. When you do something like this, you have a very distinct objective and deadline process that you're trying to meet to be able to put this comprehensive plan together. Correct? You know, we're talking about the people that you're bringing in on the focus groups. They're what a wonderful mix. Everything from the leaders of tourism to the head of the EDC, all the way through all the concerned citizens that do want to get their voices heard in this, right?
That's right. We even have students from Lake George High School attending. Fantastic. For Next Generation Thinking. So this is a grassroots effort. And to your point about, plans collecting dust to some extent, or just collecting facts, good planning process sort of makes its own sauce. So if we get a lot of input and a lot of engagement, and people felt like they had a stake in the game and could participate in this process, the goal here is then that will motivate, along with a well-written plan with the committee, motivate the community to implement those strategies in the very near future.
Boy, oh, you wish every town was doing something like this.
I do.
I mean, hats off to you guys. And it's a lot of work. Yeah. Don't underestimate what you're in for when you get those people in there, because again, they want their voices heard. The opening session for this is going to be next Wednesday,
Correct.
the 17th, and it's at the Fort William Henry.
Right.
Correct.
The conference center, and that's from 7 to 9 p.m. And we'll start with a brief presentation to get people familiar with the process, and then we're going to turn directly to the audience to get their feedback.
Right, and we were saying that this is definitely within a confined period of time. The closing session, realize the work that's got to be done between Wednesday and Saturday, but the closing session is Saturday the 20th at 1 p.m. Now, what will be presented, Dave, at that closing session?
Paul can probably address that a little bit.
A little bit of that? Okay, sure. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. By that point, we're tasked with feedback from the committee and everyone we're receiving input from, is to then transform that input into draft and preliminary recommendations that we will then format into a presentation format and present to the town in another public workshop session. For them to provide feedback and say, hey, you're on the mark or you're not on the mark at that point. And that's when we'll head back to the committee afterwards and start really drafting the plan based on all the input.
And drilling down on the information. Nice cooperation with the town board, I understand, right? Because funding for this has to come from really two sources, right?
The town board is very much involved in it, very cooperative and very supportive of what we do.
Great.
I'd also like to add that during the 4 days that the charrette is on, members of the Citizens Advisory Group Committee will be circulating amongst various venues for the meetings.
Great.
So that anybody who wants to talk to us one-on-one, we'll be there to listen and record. Our pencils and pads will be going very quickly to report on what they've said.
I think you just dated us, pencils and pads, didn't you? I think you did.
I'm sorry.
But it's not.
That's the way it works, though. Charrette or no charrette?
Right? But there will be pencils and pads and maps, and we'll be in the trenches, as they say, with that process.
Well, you're an expert in this. Chasing Companies does a lot of this kind of work, and you have a terrific reputation. Thanks. So I think you've got every oar in the water you need on this one to row straight ahead, as they say. I want to review this just one more time briefly for you. Wednesday, the 17th, get over to the Fort William Henry Conference Center. Get your voice heard. There's so many times that we wish that the town would do this, or the planning committee had done this. There's only one way to assure that your thinking is counted, is to get over there. And then keep your eye on these focus groups and the activities that are going on between Wednesday and Saturday. And then if you want to find out what happened, get to that closing session. You're going to get a nice wrap up of what these guys have really worked around the clock to produce. Again, I think it's fabulous what you're doing, and all of us benefit from it. So, thanks, and best of luck next week. And we'll have you back again afterwards so we can find out what happened.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dave. Thanks for coming in. Paul, thanks for coming in. To see this interview again, please head to our website, looktvonline.com.